I I have a little more question in trying to understand how Josh Allen was able to make the 99 club, but he did. I'll just leave it at that for now. Welcome to Just the Stats NFL, the show that covers the NFL statistical leaders from the all-time greats to the current players leading the NFL. I'm your host, Ernie Jennings. So, with only 35 days until the start of the season, we get ever closer. Today, we're not going to cover any of the teams from the NFL. We're going to take a little side trip to Madden NFL 26. And specifically, we're going to look at the 99 Club. So if you're a fan of Madden football, you'll enjoy this look at the players that have been selected for the 99 Club for Madden NFL 26. So that game is coming out August 14th, has a release date of August 14th. Now, if you want to get the game early for early access, they're going to begin allowing people to play as early as August 7th. So it is coming out. Now, for Madden 26, there were 7 NFL players that made the status of being members of the 99 Club for this season. This is the most players since Madden NFL 19, so it's quite a few. 6 of them are on the offense, 1 defensive player. We won't take much time to really look at the defensive player. So for those of you who may wonder, what is the 99 Club if you're not really into Madden football? Well, it's a list of players that have been given a rating of 99 in the Madden game, which is not that many. It's a tough thing to get, and so most players don't get that high. Good players will get, in the 90s, but 99 is a very difficult status to make. Currently, Aaron Donald has the most times he's been in this club, 7 times. Peyton Manning 6 times. They've held this status the most times of being in the Madden 99 Club. So, will these Madden 99, Madden 26 players live to their inclusion in the 99 Club? Well, let's take a brief look in this episode of Just the Stats NFL. So what we won't look at really is, for example, Myles Garrett. He's in this league. He's in this club, I should say. He's the only defensive player, and he's well worth it. This past season, he had quite an impressive season, but I'm looking at this real quick. Well, he didn't lead in NFL, and he had 14 sacks, but he did lead in tackles for loss with 22. So he had a pretty impressive season. To get into this club, there's 43 different categories that they grade every player on. So it's somewhat difficult to just looking at the surface level as to why a player might get in and why one did not. So, for example, Myles Garrett had 14 sacks, but Trey Hendrickson had 17 and a half and 19 tackles for loss. So it's just hard to tell sometimes, but that's the only defensive player. Now, when it comes to the offense, there was all skill players. One player that wasn't was the Lane Johnson, offensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the only offensive lineman to make the Madden 99 Club. Great player and had a good season. And again, exactly why he was picked over every other offensive tackle in the NFL, it's hard to tell. But he was. Let me get this back over here. So, looking at the skill players, the first one we'll look at is Saquon Barkley, which might explain why he had such a great season when you have his own player, Lane Johnson, as an offensive tackle, definitely helping him make the yardage and so forth to become an entrant into the 99 Club. So, for example, first of all, Saquon Barkley is on the cover of the game itself, Madden 26. And if you see it, it's that iconic move, which sadly happened against my favorite team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, where he jumps over the guy backwards. That's the cover of the Madden 26 game. Anyway, he led the NFL in rushing attempts, rushing yards with 2,005. He had 345 rushing attempts. Quite a bit. Rushing yards per game, he had 125 a game. That is really good. And then he also led the NFL in yards from scrimmage with 2,283. So he had a really good season. Very good season. Now, the big question with him is, which has been a fantasy thing as fantasy football is coming into high gear, is will Barkley regress? It's very difficult for a running back to have back-to-back seasons like he had. It's definitely hard. So we'll see. And in fact, when you look at the numbers, what's interesting is when you look at 2024, Barkley was 9th overall pick in the NFL. He was running back 4 behind Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, this was when everybody was wondering, was Christian McCaffrey going to play? You know, the 49ers are saying, yes, he is. Yes, he is. So people picked him. He was 1st overall, ended up not even playing. Really crushed some teams as far as that went. And then you had Bijan Robinson for Atlanta was RB2. And Breece Hall, who is nowhere near this high, right, this current season. Breece Hall, was the 3rd running back. He was going off the boards, averaging at the 5th round. Him and Robinson were close together in the 5th round. I mean, in the 5th pick overall. Saquon Barkley was going around the 9th pick as running back 4. So now when you look at 2025, despite some of the people who are doubting, he's still the number 2 pick overall. Him and Bijan Robinson, again, who's up there, he's the number 3 pick, and they're very close. Sometimes you'll see Robinson coming in 2nd. Sometimes you'll see Barkley coming 2nd. So they're very close. Barkley's range runs from the 2nd pick to the 4th pick. Jamar Chase is universally considered the number 1 pick. We'll look at him later. But those are the top ones. So this year, Saquon Barkley is RB1, closely followed by Robinson as RB2. Quite a change in the lineup. Breece Hall's not even on the list. McCaffrey's not on the list. Jamar Gibbs is number 3 this year. So we'll see how that goes. But I feel like Barkley, you know, he did have a lot of carries, and then he went through the entire postseason all the way through the Super Bowl. So he's had a lot of carries. So we'll see. I doubt seriously he hits the 2,000-yard mark again, but I think he'll have a good year. He could have a year, even if it's not quite that good, he still could have a year that puts him as the number 1 running back in the NFL. So we'll see. Number 2 last year was Derrick Henry, who also had quite a few yards and a lot of carries himself. So it's not like he was that far behind. I mean, Derrick Henry had 325 carries. So they both racked up a lot of yards, and they went quite a ways in the playoffs too. So Derrick Henry had a lot of yards. Those were our top 2, and they were the top 2 by far as far as yards go. I mean, Bijan Robinson was 3rd, but he only had 1,456 yards. So, 500 yards behind Saquon Barkley. So Barkley could have a drop-off of a couple hundred yards. Maybe he doesn't finish with 2,000. I mean, even if he finished over 1,500, he's still probably going to be the number 1 running back. So I think people are looking at that and weighing it. Some are saying he won't make it that long, so he's dropping to the 4th pick. But most of them are still going to bank that Barkley will be back this coming season. So he's the number one RB right now. So I think he well deserves the status that he got to be in the 99 club. He had it in the 99 club because he had a great season last year. Now this is a next one. Josh Allen is one of two quarterbacks to make it into the 99 club. Now, unlike the next one we'll look at, Josh Allen doesn't stand out in any particular category that well. He did tie Lamar Jackson for the QBR rating of 77.3, the highest QBR rating for a quarterback this past season. That's really the only category that he stands out in. So very interesting. Now, last season, Josh Allen was the number one quarterback taken off the boards, going kind of averaging in the 23rd pick. So toward the end of the second round, if you had a 12-team league. Jalen Hurts was second, Patrick Mahomes was third, and Lamar Jackson was fourth. That's the way they went off the board. Now, this year, it's really close between Lamar Jackson. If you're going PPR, which is normally all I ever play, Lamar Jackson is the number one quarterback and Josh Allen's number two. But they're very close. I mean, they're both going at the end of the second round again. So Josh Allen's pretty much stayed where he was. The big difference is Lamar Jackson in 2024 wasn't going until the middle of the third round, actually toward the end of the third round. So, and sometimes one of the first picks of the fourth round. So you could get him quite a bit later than you could Josh Allen. He was going 15 picks after after Josh Allen. So how does it look for this season for Josh Allen? Really don't know. I don't think there's been much of an improvement as far as wide receivers go. The running back situation's the same, and that's if James Cook comes back, which I'm sure he will play. Regardless of what he wants for a contract, I think he'll play, and then he'll just most likely move on, try to get the money he thinks he deserves. That's a whole nother story of whether he deserves that kind of money or not. I don't think so, but he does. And but the Bills aren't willing to give him what he's asking for, so he might move on. But nothing's really changed. This in 2024, the Buffalo Bills had one of the most incredible seasons as far as minimalizing the turnovers they had. That's an area where you should see some regress. So that could hurt them. Now, on the other hand, despite the fact that somehow Josh Allen was able to win MVP, the AP MVP award this past season, he really didn't even have one of his best seasons. So I find it somewhat incredible. I mean, as far as yards passing, he was 14th in the NFL. When it comes to touchdowns, he was tied for 7th. So really it's interesting. Even in yards, when you're looking at rushing yards, he was fewer yards. He had a good season. Where he did lead quarterbacks was in touchdown rushes. Him and looking at him and who am I thinking about here? Hurts. They both were the big touchdown leaders as far as rushing touchdowns go. So it's interesting that so fantasy-wise, Josh Allen's been a good quarterback. I'm not sure that they're going to have the same fortune as far as turnovers go. They just limited their turnovers incredibly. And I'm not saying they're going to just completely flip over and be different, but I'm not sure I want to pick him as my number one. But a lot of people are. Like I said, him and Lamar Jackson now, instead of being quite a big difference, Jalen Hurts isn't even in the top two this time, like he was number two last season. They're very close. If you're going standard, Josh Allen's leading over Lamar Jackson, the same in half PPR. It's only in PPR where Lamar Jackson stands out because he threw for quite a bit more yards and way more touchdowns. So I have a little more question in trying to understand how Josh Allen was able to make the 99 club, but he did. I'll just leave it at that for now. Now, the next one up, Jamar Chase, wide receiver for Cincinnati Bengals. Before this season, when he did make the 99 club, his best overall rating was 97. So he was close, but not quite that high. Now, here's some standards that Jamar Chase had. He led the NFL in receptions with 127. He led the NFL in receiving yards with 1,708. He led the NFL in TDs with 17. And he led the NFL in receiving yards per game with 100.5. So he had really an incredible season. He was 12 receptions better than St. Brown, who was second. In yards, he was almost 200 better than Justin Jefferson in yards. And in touchdowns, he was 4 better than Terry McLaurin, who finished with 13. So he had an incredible season. Now, when we're looking at fantasy outlook for him, last season, Jamar Chase was going off the board as the wide receiver 4, going about the 7th pick overall, somewhere ranged from 4th to 8th pick in last season. So always going in the first round. Again, like I said, Christian McCaffrey was overall number 1. CeeDee Lamb, who also had a good season, but not the kind of season that Chase had. CeeDee Lamb was number 1 wide receiver. He was going 2nd overall. And unfortunately for those people, this was pretty bad. The first pick and the 3rd pick. Tyreek Hill was going 3rd. So if you're a person who either picked up McCaffrey or Hill, you really got burned a little bit. Or if you picked up Breece Hall, was going 5th as RB3. So you had a rough season if you had one of those. And then as far as wide receivers, so you had CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown for Detroit, and then you had Jamar Chase as number 4 wide receiver. And then Justin Jefferson was the 5th wide receiver. So they were all going very close. Brown, Chase, and Jefferson were going all within a round of each other. So they were basically flip-flopping which one of them was 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th in that kind of area, or 8th even. They were very close to each other. Now, when we're looking at 2025, obviously Jamar Chase is wide receiver 1 across the board. He's being picked in every fantasy league number 1. Saquon Barkley is 2nd, like I said. But the next wide receiver is Justin Jefferson, who's going off the board in 4th position. Him and Jahmyr Gibbs, running back for Detroit, are basically tied with each other as far as 4th and 5th spot. So they're bouncing back and forth. And then CeeDee Lamb is again still up there. He's 3rd wide receiver this year instead of the 1st. So you've had 3 of these top players hang in the top 3. Now we'll see what happens, but Jamar Chase, I fully expect him to have a season comparable to what he had. And I'm always going to say this just based on the fact that if he plays the entire season or most of the season, I'm not really sure that Cincinnati did anything in any great way to improve their defense. So I expect that they're going to be passing the ball as much as they did last time. So I think based on last season, Chase easily deserved being inducted into the 99 club. All right, let's look at the next one. Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. And this is what I read an article about this Madden 99, and they said Jackson definitely had a case against Allen in the 2024 NFL MVP race, putting up outstanding numbers through the air and on the ground for the Baltimore Ravens' explosive offense. What they were surprised about was this is Jackson's first induction into the 99 club. Despite the record-setting year he had in 2019, he only got a 94 overall rating. So that was in Madden 21. So here he is finally getting into the club. His best rating prior to this was in Madden last season, Madden 25. He had a 98 rating. So he finally made it into the league. So like I was saying, when it came to quarterbacks last season, Josh Allen was leading the NFL as far as drafting quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes were going 2-3. And then Lamar Jackson was the fourth. So Josh Allen was going late second round, Hurts, Mahomes going in the third round, middle of the third round, and then Lamar Jackson going the beginning of the fourth round. That's where they were going last season. Now this season, obviously, Lamar Jackson, like I said, is at the top. Josh Allen is quarterback number 2. And again, that's in PPR. Josh Allen is number 1, and but only very close. Number 1 quarterback to number 2 quarterback. And it's really super close as far as where they are being drafted. But they'll fight it out. When you're going just off the numbers, I'll look at this again another time. Lamar Jackson put up some incredible numbers last season. And so it was quite impressive. I mean, Joe Burrow led the NFL in yards, touchdowns. But when it comes to both of those categories in yards, I mean, Lamar Jackson finished with over 4,000 yards with 4,172. And in touchdowns, he had 41. He had the highest touchdown percentage rate of 8.6 over in the NFL this past season. So, and not only that, but he rushed for an incredible amount of yards too. So he really had quite a season this past year. I mean, so he had over 4,000 yards throwing the ball, and then he had over 900 yards rushing. So he had, between the two, he had 5,000 yards. That's incredible. I mean, there's only been, you just don't see that very often. Like I said, as far as touchdowns go, he didn't have quite the same as Jalen Hurts, who had 14, and Josh Allen had 12. But he still had a good season. And when you throw in that neither one of those players had the 41 touchdowns thrown, it does equal out. So Lamar Jackson had quite a season. Definitely think he qualified to make the 99 club this year. Next one up is Justin Jefferson. Now, along with Chase, they were the 2 wide receivers to make the league, the 99 club, and there were 2 quarterbacks. Now, unlike Chase, this was his first time in the Madden 26 club, this is Justin Jefferson's 3rd time. So pretty impressive. In fact, he had, in Madden 24, he had a 99. Last year, he dropped out because he had a 98, so pretty close. And then this year, again, he had a 99. So if you've listened when I was talking about Minnesota, he seems to be quarterback proof. He's going to get his yards. He's just an incredible wide receiver, very consistent, great wide receiver. And this past season, I mean, if it wasn't for Jamar Chase, he'd have been right up there. I mean, like I said, Chase had 127 receptions. Jefferson had 103. And when it comes to yards, though, like I said, Chase had 1,708, but Justin Jefferson was second with 1,533. The big difference is he had a yard and a half more per reception than Chase did. The next player was Brian Thomas, but he was way back at 1,282. So the two of them had quite a lead over the rest of the NFL as far as yards go. Now, looking at these players last season, Justin Jefferson in particular, he was going off the board right there with Chase at number 7 and 8. Chase was 7, Jefferson was 8. So they were going, mid first round. So again, very good. And again, they're going to do that in 2025. The only difference is they've moved up this chart. where Chase is now number 1 and Justin Jefferson is going off again around 4 or 5. So instead of going off the board at around 7 or 8, he's now going off the board around 4 or 5. Big difference. So the other one is CeeDee Lamb, who's going off just behind Justin Jefferson, and occasionally actually he's going ahead of him. It's just a matter of how people think about it. He had an incredible season. He had 10 touchdowns, double-digit touchdowns, so that's excellent. Second in receiving yards, over 100 receptions again. He's just been a very consistent player. I think he definitely deserved to be in the 99 club for Madden 26. So that's my look at these players. Just a quick look at the players. Now, stick around as I go back to the NFC North. I'm going to wrap up that division with a look at the Chicago Bears. And after taking a look at them, I'll give you my thoughts on what rankings I believe the teams are going to do in 2025. Who's going to be first, second, third, and fourth. So we'll check that out. If you want to listen to other podcasts that I've had, you can check them out on YouTube. Go to Just the Stats NFL, and you can check it out on YouTube. Leave me a message if you inclined to do that. Also, you can like and subscribe. You can also catch me, of course, on Spotify, Apple, or one of your other podcast sources. So appreciate you subscribing and liking. I appreciate you listening, and I hope you enjoyed this little deviation away from the norm, looking at the Madden 26 football game. And as far as that goes, this is a wrap for this episode of Just the Stats NFL. So until next time, I am out.